Okay, we're live.
We are live on
So,
Facebook.
hello everyone. I'm with Jeremy White, uh, my teacher that I've known for probably almost 10 years now. I don't know, it's been quite a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, it has been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And Jeremy is a Norse shaman, and we'll talk more about that. And he walked the path of the runes. And he's been doing a lot of beautiful teachings for people that want to learn and understand the Norse god, the runes, and what it means to walk that path, and the deep medicine that the runes carry. And there's a new class teaching that's starting on Thursday. And you can go on the website on thesanctuaryheal.com, and we are talking about that class, but we'll be putting that in the comments. And we wanted to do a live call and live discussion with Jeremy, so you can hear a little bit about more about that path. So I'm glad to be with you, brother. Uh,
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm not great at Facebook Lives through Zoom. If we have questions, where do we see them?
we're seeing them on Facebook, which we won't see them on Zoom where we are right now. So I think if you go on Facebook, we'll be able to see them. But if you go on my page, basically,
I
uh,
might do that if people have questions.
yes. So I probably be able to see them where I am. But yeah, let's start here and we'll see how it goes. So
Okay, I'll
Jeremy,
leave, I'll leave that down to you.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll put that for you. So if you have questions, guys, you can just put them here. But Jeremy, I want to start about first this question, maybe because some people might not know, especially here in America, what is Norse shamanism, and or what is a Norse shaman? Would you define that?
Well, so Norse makes people think predominantly of Scandinavia, but it actually, Northern shamanism is anyone from Northern Europe, from France, Germany, Belgium, Holland, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Scandinavia and Iceland. It's our ancient shamanic path. The word shaman comes from the Sami Indians. We have an indigenous medicine system ourselves that was suppressed 1,000, 1,500 years ago.
Hmm.
But in the modern world, there's something in our DNA that's waking up. We watch the movies, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Last Kingdom, Game of Thrones. There's something about our ancestors that wants to wake. And the more we tune back into nature, step away from the material world, the more we engage with Mother Earth, the more we waken up our ancestors who live in our DNA. And the runes are a language of the tribes of Northern Europe that somehow managed to make it all through the eons of history to still be alive and work in medicine in our time. And when we work with them, we honor our ancestors. But not just the ancestors, we honor the plants that each one. We honor the land whites, the spirits. We start communicate. I believe the runes are a star language as well. They talk to this many dimensional world map. You know, I go from all worlds. From you've studied the Northern Path, and we have 9 worlds. We live in Middle Earth, Midgard, just like Lord of the Rings, and all these other root races live in the worlds around us. And the one thing that binds us together in the web of weird, which is woven by the Norns, the three sisters of Erd, Verdandi, and Skuld, is the language of the runes. And we use it in our Northern Path for every aspect of our work, along with the Ogham and other stuff. But predominantly, I use the runes because they're the ones that to me are just the absolute truth. And on my
Yeah.
path, I work in service of spirit, service of the land, and service of my ancestors. And I trust everything the runes show me, and I live by them in my work and in my teachings.
So can you show us a few runes just so people know? I mean, most people probably heard about the runes, but
But there you go. So I pick up a rune. That's not probably the best one to pick, but there you go. So this is Hagelaz. It's storms and delay in your path. So if you pick this and you're going on a journey and Hagelaz comes, expect there to be a delay, but don't waste that time. Use it productively. If it comes that way, there's going to be a long delay. Like prison, you're stopped. You're going nowhere. But then If we work with the plant of that, that's bryony, which we use for something else, for medicine on our path. Or if we wear the rune, it's for us to embrace patience. It's us to embrace the energy of the hermit, to go inside and know that the delay is part of the path. So each one of them has this different thing you can use for divination, but then you can learn how to make bind runes, which is a combination of rune, and helms, which is a shield pattern to help people through situations. It's different from the tarot. The tarot are very accurate, but the runes speak the plain truth, but then they give you the medicine within the reading to help rebalance those frequencies, because that's what the runes are. They're a spoken, sung, chanted language. Each one has a symbol, but the real magic is in their vibration, their frequency.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think for the runes. I mean, many people, and I guess it was what I knew first, many years ago before I studied. It's like, oh, it's like divination, like tarot cards, but there's much more to that. There is plants that are related to it. There is specific gods that are connected to it. There's even stories for each runes, really what they are about. So it's much more than just divination, and I think that's part of what the class is going to be about too.
Yeah, it's so when I teach the runes, I teach the runes in vision. I don't talk about each rune until I've taken you on a shamanic vision for you to experience that rune on your journey. Then you write down what vision, what medicine that rune gave you in your own notes. Then I talk about the historical, the way it can be read, not just one way, in many situations. So when the runes want to speak to us, they're a language. So I don't read individual runes. I see 3 runes as a picture that's telling me a story. Just like I do when I do my shamanic visions, I cast the runes and they show me where we're supposed to go. And that's what we allow the runes to do, is for the ancestors to guide us on that river of the shamanic path, taking us to where we be. But on the northern path, the first step is to learn the runes, because that's the language of the gods, the ancestors, and the land. And when you know yourself, Angel, when I teach the shamanic path, you must know the runes, and you must write your notes in the runic language to give it power, to give it medicine, to make it magic. And then the more we do it, the ultimate goal is to become the runes. That's the ultimate goal, to be the living embodiment of the plants, the medicine, the songs, and the stories, and to be an encyclopedia of wisdom. I just had a very interesting vision in the orchards of Avalon, which is a bit away from the subject, but I followed a shamanic path now probably for about 18 years. And then the Lady of Avalon came to me, who I haven't sort of ever seen in a vision before, and she said, "You are the shaman, but you're becoming the story, because all of the magic lies in the stories. And it's important that the stories get told. And each rune has its own story, and each rune can tell a story. And within those magical stories of our ancestors, we wake up and find this another level of teachings. So the runes are just the first step on this vast journey that goes on and deeper and deeper. It's interesting. We've been working in the Northern Gateway, which is another aspect of learning the runes. We started working with cryptocurrencies, not because we looked it out. That cryptocurrencies found us. My second initiation was about working with the unknown gods, the gods whose names have been forgotten, who were equally as powerful as the gods who were remembered. Remember that these Christian scribes decided who was remembered and who was forgotten. And there was when Charlemagne made people in Northern Europe commit to the Christian path, they had to take a vow. They had to take a vow to give up their belief in Saxnot, Odin, and Thor. Well, we remember Odin and Thor, but who's Saxnot? He's the one who comes first. We have to give up the belief in him. So through my studies, through lockdown, going deeper and deeper, Saxnot is a character called Svipdag, who's actually the grandson of Ivaldi, who's the son of Volund, the guy Wayland in Celtic tradition, Volund in Germanic and Norse, who made the Sword of Light, Excalibur in the Arthurian stories. And then I realized through looking for these studies, like you have a wheel, an 8-pronged wheel as well, which is just of the Dark Elves. And there's a magical tool at each one, just like when we did Kenaz, you went down in the belly of the earth and you found your magical tool. Well, there's these 8 magical tools that represent the part of your path you should be working. Exactly the same as the Celtic path, but from the Germanic side. And it's
Mhm.
and I'm just channeling this and uncovering it and realizing there's still riddles for us to be solved. It's not set. This energy has just been woken. It's been sleeping for 1,000 years. But through working with the runes, working through the stories, I'm finding different threads to weave together. And through teaching people the runes and telling the stories, others will weave that fabric into a complete path. Now, you follow the Peruvian path. That's a complete path with no broken lineage back to the beginning. But in Northern Europe, the lineage has been broken and it starts again with our generation and those who come after us. And learning the runes and honoring the runes and letting them be heard as part of a magical path, not just a divination tool, is where it begins.
So there is many things we can do with the runes,
Yep.
and I would like to give an example to people. I mean, we've been in a huge period of transition, transformation. Many people say it's a collective rite of passage
Yep.
that we are in, an awakening, and also there is a lot of shading and death and rebirth and many things happening. So
Well,
could
it's
we,
interesting.
yeah.
So your parents and probably my parents went through World War II in Europe,
Mhm.
and I never knew what the test of my time would be. And now we are living through the test of our time. And we are both walking a shamanic path of healers, helpers, and teachers. And it's for us to stand up now. This is when we are needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great thing for you to do. I'm going to do a chant to connect our energies into those people listening and open my doorways to the gods. And then what you can ask the question and then pick three numbers and I'll decipher what they mean.
Okay, perfect.
Close your eyes, and anyone who's listening, please close your eyes and listen to the sound of my voice and imagine the doorway opening between us. Manas, manas, manas. Me, ma, mu, mo, me. Manas, manas, manas. Am, im, om, em. Manas, manas, manas. Okay, brother, think how you want to word this question and give me three numbers between 1 and 24.
3, 7, 21.
Cool. Tell me when to throw them.
Now.
So I'm going to share the screen. I think I can. Host has to let me share the screen. You got to give me permission to share the screen.
Yes. Here you go.
Cool. How did you word your question?
My question was about, so we're in time of transitions and it seems like things to be reopening and everybody wants to come back to normal. But I wanted to ask the rune if it's really a reopening of what wisdom that they have for this time of kind of coming out of the pandemic, but maybe not coming out. What is happening at the moment?
So it's interesting. So this is the rune of the fairy king, which is blocked. It can mean very simply lack of action, but it's actually a sterile, unfertile world of not really much productivity. It wasn't a vibrant green world. It's the complete opposite of the fairy king, the fairy woods. It's blocked. And our path forward will involve stumbles and obstacles. And it is a path of letting go of the old world. So this is a reopening, but we're not going to get back on our path until we leave the old dynamic, the old dogma behind. And it may take many years until we get back to normal. And what is normal? It's just the world we live in. It's interesting. I did some work with a friend years ago, and they had a problem with their son. I said, "Don't tell me anymore." And I went on to Vision about it, and it took me to Muspelheim, the land of fires and ice, and there was volcanoes erupting, and there was earthquakes, and this green valley got demolished, and then I'm standing in a barren desert, and there was volcanoes going up. And I said to Odin, so what happened to the world? And he said, he appeared in a vision, he said, this is the world. The world is ever changing. This is the world as it is now. What was has passed. You have to make this home and not long for what was. And this is about this. There is a new world that we will be existing in. We were lucky to grow up in the 70s and 80s in a time of abundance. But this world will be very different. You know, and it couldn't live. That world couldn't live, suffocating the fairy king. This is the fairy king laying down, the nature spirits dying. You know, this is us moving forward on a path that's hard for us. And it is a path of cutting the ties that bound us before. Everybody, material wealth, possessions. You know, we don't need all these things, but we're told that we do. For us to be free and be back in balance with nature, just like the fairy accord, we have to learn to let go of them. And it will be hard because, like we said, the old world, we're in grief for that old world. We're bereaving it. We don't want to let that go of that old world. We want it to be exactly the same as it was before. But the world before didn't really work. It was doomed to fail. But we still yearn and we still grieve for it. But there is a new world that we can make if we're strong enough and if we can let go of the binds that chain us.
So is there a really good runes? I mean, maybe we can remove that readings and that, but is there a rune that we can work with, like one specific runes that maybe comes to your journeys, or maybe I don't know, we can pick or ask, you know?
So I think this is the room we should be working with at the moment.
So Rado.
Rado, which it means the wheel, the journey, the path. This experience that we're going through is part of our human experience. It is part of our path. And how we deal with it is how humanity is determined for the future. You know, we have to, this is when we talk about the fairy accord, like I'm in the Northern Gateway things. It's about getting the relationship between man and nature back in balance, getting the relationship between work, rest, and play in balance. It can't all be work. It can't all be material. Material wealth doesn't fulfill the whole of what it cannot fill the void that spirit fills. You know, and I've learned that, and you've learned that.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got your life in balance with mind, body, and spirit, then it's doomed to, the machine is doomed to break down. Now we've got to find that way of making it accessible to the people of the 21st century who still work in the rat race. Now their rat race has had a big shock to the system. And it's, for some, it's a shock that's better. They're now working from home. They're not doing the 2-hour commute into the city and back every day. And they're finding that those extra 4 hours a day that they were wasting, they're sitting at home and their work's more productive. So that's better for the environment. But I struggle. This must be terrible to be a kid who's 18 in this time. You know, I'm approaching
Or an
60.
opportunity, if you're ready to break the system and to really do
Yeah.
something very different.
Yeah, for those who are ready to change, this is the time to do it. Because you don't have to fit into the world anymore, because the world doesn't have a model. It's gone. It's crazy, you know. And I'm in Britain, you're in the States. We've just got over our third lockdown. And I had some doctors walking on the land last week, and they were saying we're preparing for another lockdown in August and September. You know, is this a cycle of going in and out of these lockdowns? So, and it has made the internet so important now. I used to not really be very good at working on the internet, but now I know that it is really the only way I can get people to gather around the fire and listen to the stories and try and listen to the wisdom. And teaching the runes is one of those ways that I can connect people.
So we
Is
have
there?
yeah, so we have this class that's coming up. We just
Yep.
finished the cycle. And so for people that are just joining now or missed the beginning, there's a new class to learn the runes with you. And,
Yep.
I've studied with Jeremy for almost 10 years now, and I've taken many of his class, and I keep taking them because, yeah, like you said, I think in time of great turmoil and changes, and when we see our society struggle, where there's so many addictions and
Yeah.
anger and pain and separation and greed and attack on the earth and on each other. Basically, it's not just on the earth. It's on the women. It's on everybody.
Well, this is
Uh,
the biggest problem is that we think the earth ends where our feet begin. We are the earth. We are part of the earth. We're not the birds of the earth, the animals of the earth, the trees of the earth. We're the earth.
mhm,
And we've just forgotten that or become so arrogant we've detached from it. But we are the earth, and if she suffers, we suffer. And I was looking at this. The number one killer of the young under 25 is not COVID, it's suicide.
mhm,
They lose hope, and because we don't live in communities anymore, we don't live in tribes where you have the honor the elders and the young could come together. We need that. We're a tribal people. Our species is a community based species.
mhm.
And people, the system tries to push us away into a house with a mortgage to do this. We need to gather in fire around the circle. We need to share stories. And learning the runes and learning the stories is part of that, where we gather again and look for wisdom. And there's different ways. When women learn the runes, they gather with many women and they all ask questions backwards and forwards because that is the nature of how women work. When the masculine learn the runes, they take it deadly serious, and it's a very solitary thing with their connection directly with God or with Odin or whoever you want to be. Both systems are right. It's the way the divine masculine and the divine feminine work. And you can come together, and the runes are male and female completely balanced. The origins of the runes come from Odin hanging on a tree for 9 days, sacrificing himself to himself for deeper wisdom. And after 9 days, he fell down from the tree and he picked up the runes, screaming, he picked them up. But he had no idea what they meant. So he went to the goddess Freya, the queen of the fairies, the goddess of witchcraft and magic. And he said, "Do you know what these means?" She said, "I'm a woman. Of course I do." And Odin said, "Will you teach me?" And she said, "On one condition. You dress, live, and act as a woman for 1 year to know what it's like to be sovereign over all your people." So Odin did that. It was called his time of Urgi, and the warriors shunned him. This part is never spoken about by the Viking heroes nowadays, but it's very important for men to understand that we have to embrace the divine feminine to understand the magic of Freya. And the divine feminine has to embrace the divine masculine to understand the wisdom of Odin.
Yeah,
It's
and
the
that's
perfect balance between the two.
I really love this story about Odin and how he discovered
Yeah.
it. I think it's such a perfect story for the time we're living in and for the transformation we have to go through. So there is this new class starting on Thursday,
Yep.
and you guys can find it on the comment on this video or on our website. So can you tell us a little bit about the class, how is it structures, how
So
many
it
time, and what are we going to do there, basically?
there's 6 classes. In each class, I will take you on a vision quest with 4 runes. At the end of that vision quest, we'll come back and we'll talk about what we experienced, and I'll tell you what each rune means. And even on the first class, we will start casting runes with the 4 we've done to try and get answers. We're training, we're practicing, but we start reading the runes with the first 4. The second class, you'll do another 4, and then you'll be doing runings with 8 runes, and so forth until the final class, where you have 24 runes that you can learn and speak and use in your life going ahead. And at the end of that class, you're not a rune reader. You've just learned to read the runes. You
Yeah, it's
become
very,
a
very
reader.
much the beginning. I mean, I know I've
The
been studying
beginning.
them for so many years, and I'm still learning from them. And I don't feel I could teach them. I mean, I don't feel called to it because I know it would be a much different path for me. But yeah, I just wanted to share that for anybody that is really looking for some very grounding, because that's what I love about the rune. Even if there's a lot of stories and things that
Yeah.
transport us, and we do journaling, with a drum and all that. It really, it's really connected to my life as it is right now. So it's very
Yeah.
grounding and bringing me in the present for what it's alive. It's not about traveling to the time of the Vikings, or
No.
seeing stories that are just beautiful dream. It's really about what's going on in my life, what can I do about it, and like you said, very accurate and very, very straight answers about it, which is quite amazing, I think, about the runes.
And it's really important what you said is that the runes for me are a tool that my ancestors used. And by using them, I'm honoring my ancestors and the gods, but I'm using them in a way that resonates with the people of the 21st century.
Mm.
So they can be a trusted tool to help you on your medicine and spiritual path. And whether you already read the tarot cards, or you walk in a Wiccan path, or a Peruvian shamanic path, or a Native American shamanic path, the runes are I would say, essential tool to have in your bundle of medicine, whether it's your mesa, whether it's your medicine bag. Having the runes there is if you're stuck, you go to the runes and they give you the truth. Then you can go back to your path and know how to heal. It's just giving you clarity. That's what they do. They take your ego out of the equation, and you just see what the runes do. You just say and see what the gods are telling you.
Yeah, they don't always, sometime I remember many years ago when I started doing the runes and I got something and I was like, oh no, I don't want that answer. So I would just redo it again, and then I would got the same rune again. And I was like, okay, I really have to listen, because they're very persistent and clear. Once they say the message, we have to hear it. And we
Yeah.
have to take action about it. If they say something and then we don't respect them, really, I believe,
But
we're not
so for me,
honoring.
it's really important, if you're going to learn the runes, you shouldn't read for anybody else unless you do exactly what the runes say yourself.
Mm,
If you live by them, then you have the right to read for other people. If you don't live by them, then you have no right. And that's the same with the tarot or any tool you use. You have to practice what you preach. You are the ambassador for the gods, the ancestors, and the land when you use the runes. And the most important thing is your authenticity in when you're doing it. And I'll speak in a modern language. I'll crack jokes and I'll laugh in a joke, because that is really important on our medicine path. If we become so spiritual, we disappear into the ethers, it's no good. We have to live and ground into the 21st century. And shamanically, we have to become the teacher that the people need, not the students become the students that we need. We have to work with that. And just like the runes, they have to come across in a language that the modern people understand.
yeah.
And just like telling the story of King Arthur, or, it's no different. Back in the year 500, that had a certain text, it was told a certain way. Well, the story of Jon Snow in the Game of Thrones is the same story, but it's the hero's quest. But now it's told in a way that the people of our generation resonate with it.
Mm,
And that's important, that us who become storytellers, we become the story that resonates with the people of our time. When the druids would study their druidic path, they would spend 7 years listening to the stories. They would spend 7 years telling the stories, and then 7 years understanding the riddles hidden in the stories. And at the end of the 21 years, they were then qualified to walk the land and heal and help and guide using the stories.
mm,
And that's what the runes are. They're a story. The last 8 runes are a prophecy of the end of time. The first 8 runes say the word father. It starts, there's 3 8s in the runes, 3 sets of 8s. There's 24 runes. The first one, of Freya's 8, the goddess of love and beauty. The second is Heimdall's 8, the gatekeeper who holds us back until we're ready. And the final 8 are led by Tyr, the god of truth and integrity on our path ahead. And it's important that we know each god and goddess that relates to them. In the 6-week course, you won't learn everything. You'll learn to read with the runes. You'll learn to know what the alphabet represents. You'll learn a little bit about the gods. But what it will do is give you a tool to start the path. And then if you want to take it deeper, there are options on which way you want to go. But once you see how powerful they can be and how accurate and how much wisdom lies in them when you learn to interpret them, there will be a tool for the rest of your life.
Exciting. Well, thank you, Jeremy. I'm
Oh, you're
really,
welcome, brother.
yeah, I'm looking forward for the people that are going to take this. Again, I just finished a cycle of the 6th class, and I've been doing it regularly because I feel, for me, it keeps reawakening the rune inside of me, keep reawakening that medicine. Obviously I can learn them with my head and with my heart and feel them, but there is some kind of alchemical process that happen when I start working a lot with the runes. Like you said, we become the runes
You
in
become
some
the runes,
ways.
yeah.
At some point they just come,
Yeah.
even in the movement of our bodies or in the sound that we say. And yeah, they are like those portals, those
Yeah.
gatekeepers. They are
And you
bringing
have
different energy.
those two runes on your hands that mean certain things are spiritual to you and
Yeah, I
part of
have a
your
few
spiritual
there
path.
for
There you
people
go.
are looking
Yeah.
for that.
And they're really important that they're part of your spiritual path. You've embraced them and the runes have become part of your body
Yeah.
to do its
Yes.
work. The class starts, it's my 11 p.m. Is that your 6 p.m. on the East Coast?
Yes, it's at 6
Okay.
p.m. On the East Coast, 3 p.m. West Coast, and 11 p.m. for Europe. Yeah.
I'm staying up extra late for you guys so I can reach a wider audience.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you so
thank you
much,
for tuning in.
everyone.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Email us, message us under this video. Go on my website, on Jeremy website. All of that will be under this video. And it starts this coming Thursday. So don't miss it out. Thursday, the 10th of June. Yeah, really highly recommend. It will be a very deep journey and will help you a lot on your path. So thank you,
And
Jeremy.
bless you, brother. Thank you for giving me the time to share. So may the gods be with you all, guys. Bye bye. Hopefully, see
Thank
you
you.
soon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.